Who would have thought that only 70 or so years after the Holocaust, that anti-Semitism would be becoming part of the world's mainstream political discourse? Just look at the round at the world at what is happening. And I'm not even referring to the volume of anti-Semitism that emanates from the Arab and Muslim world. I'm talking about Western societies such as the UK, Europe, the USA, and even Australia. In the United Kingdom, there is an anti-Semitism crisis tearing the Labour Party apart. Recently, 9 members of Parliament quit the party in protest at the current leadership, citing their handling of allegations of anti-Semitism, as well as dissatisfaction over the party's stance on Brexit. Luciana Berger is one of the 9. She is a Jewish MP who has been in Britain's Parliament for nearly 10 years. She resigned from the party last month because, she said, of the severe anti-Semitism that has gripped significant numbers of members in the party, as well as Labour's failure on the Brexit issue. The finger was being pointed squarely at Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn, who I have no problem in labelling an anti-Semite. Another Labour Party member to resign was the non-Jewish MP Joan Ryan. She quit in protest of the, quote, culture of anti-Semitism within the party. She has subsequently received death threats and been called a Jew whore who deserves to burn in the ovens. Charming stuff. It took several years for the anti-Semitism on the left to become a central issue in British politics, but across the pond in the United States it has taken barely a couple of weeks. Democrat Congresswoman Ilhan Omar has repeatedly made anti-Semitic comments such as, quote, Israel has hypnotised the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. Last month, during another Twitter discussion, she opined that US support for Israel was all about the Benjamin's baby, a reference to the $100 American bill which bears the image of Benjamin Franklin. The implication was that Jewish money, as opposed to innate pro-Israel sentiment, was responsible for America's friendly policy towards Israel. The Democrats then penned a statement on anti-Semitism, well, which wasn't. They passed a resolution condemning bigotry of all kinds, including Islamophobia, bigotry towards African Americans, people of colour, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, immigrants and others. We left out Wiccans, joked one Republican congressman, a reference to what is commonly considered to be adherents of witchcraft. The Democrats forced Omar to apologise, but I would say, why bother? Even when she apologises, we all know she doesn't mean it. So let's just be honest and accept that Americans have voted into Congress an openly anti-Semitic woman, along with, of course, Rashida Tlaib, who promotes a pro-Palestinian and anti-Israel agenda. And that brings me to Australia, with the Greens also joining the chorus of leftist hostility to Israel, which I consider to be anti-Semitism. There is no shortage of criticism of Israel by the Greens, but just try to find a statement anywhere, where they have explicitly criticised Palestinian terror activities. Writing in The Australian recently, Nick Cater said that Greens leader Richard Di Natale hijacked a condolence motion in the Senate at the time to launch an unfounded character attack on former Israeli President and Nobel Peace Prize winner Shimon Peres. It is Greens' policy to demand the Australian government, quote, halt military cooperation and military trade with Israel and recognise the ongoing injustice done to the Palestinian people. A few years ago, former New South Wales Greens Senator Lee Rhiannon printed posters advertising a Nakba Day rally to protest Israeli apartheid and calling for the Palestinian right of return. In other words, she is advocating the dismantling of Israel as the nation-state of the Jewish people. About 2 years ago, the New South Wales branch of the Young Greens decided to boycott activities and communication with Orgeous, Australia's only peak Jewish student organisation. They have decided that they won't even talk to Jews. And now the latest incarnation of Greens anti-Semitism comes in the form of Julian Burnside QC, who is standing against Josh Frydenberg for the seat of Kooyong in the upcoming federal election. Burnside makes a regular point of advocating for the Palestinian cause. He too, it would seem, would also be happy to see Israel disappear. Very simply, if you take such a hostile view against Israel's existence and ignore all the history of the Jewish people in the Middle East and ignore all instances of human rights abuses by the Palestinian Arabs and Israel's subsequent need to defend itself as ethically as possible, then in my book that makes you anti-Semitic. It's happening in the UK, it's happening in the USA, and I haven't even touched on Europe, which is a whole subject in itself, and it's happening here too. I can understand that people have strong feelings about protecting the environment, but you would think that the Greens would be in love with Israel for its environmental work and humanitarian aid that is always available. But the simple fact is, they are too full of anti-Semitism to even notice the hypocrisy of what they are doing. These days, a vote for the Greens is a vote for anti-Semitism.